Okay, in the second part, I'm going to explain you how to create the clouds, how to cut the rainbow, how to put all the pieces together from the bird, the boat, and the flowers, and of course the background. So let's get started. I'm going to begin with the bird. So I'm going to drag all the parts from the bird in here so I can use this as a reference. And it's very simple. Since I already traced this for you, you are simply going to drag all the elements, put them in their place. But I need another wing for my bird. So I'm going to press Alt and make a copy. And then I'm going to change the color in properties because this one is a darker blue. Perfect. And then I need to flip it because it faces another side. So I'm going to click in this part, flip along horizontal axis. I'm clicking in there and simply moving this. But these two parts go on top of it. So I'm going to select them, to right click and bring them to front. And with all that, I finished my bird. Now I'm just going to simply group this. And in my layers, I'm going to rename this group as bird. Excellent. I'm going to lock that one. We finished the bird. That was very simple. Now, I left you also a couple of circles to create the clouds. So these circles resemble the shape of the cloud. The cloud also has this curvature which you can change with the direct selection tool, with the curvature tool, but I'm just going to leave it like that. Okay, so it's very simple what we are going to do. Since we want a complete shape, we are going to go to properties and click in the first option of the Pathfinder. We're going to unite this. I'm going to change its color, but I also want this straight line in the circle. So I'm going to grab the rectangle tool. I'll change its color just so I can see the difference between them. And I'm going to move this so I can get that straight line from the clouds. And the next step will be to select them both and click in the minus front option of the Pathfinder, and there we go. I don't mind about this because it won't show, because the cloud will be behind the building, so no one will tell that we have there. I'm just going to resize this a little bit, and there I have it. I'm going to go to my layers, rename this as cloud, and I'm going to make sure that it's behind building one. There we go. Very simple. Let me lock the cloud as well. And this building. Now we are going to work with the rainbow. I want the rainbow to be there. But if I place it, it's going to show through this window, and I don't want that. That's why I'm going to cut it in half. So, like we did before, I have an extra thing in here. I'm going to get rid of it. As we did before, we're going to place another rectangle on top of it. Let me put a filling there. And I want to cut all my shapes at once. But if I select them, I have another thing there. If I select them and click on the second option, the minus front, it's only going to cut one part, and we don't want that to happen. So that's why we have to expand the Pathfinder menu to release the rest of the options. You can start practicing with this. You can experiment with all the shapes, but I think the one that we're going to use is trim. Now I'm going to click in trim, and as you can see, it created a group. It doesn't mean that the program didn't do anything. It actually did, but we need to ungroup this. So we click in there, we click in a group to release all the parts, and if I move this, I can realize that all my parts were cut. Okay, now I'm just going to get rid of the rectangle and group the rainbow. One more time, go to my layers and rename this as rainbow. And I'm going to lock this layer. So again, remember, I created a rectangle on top of it and went to the options of the properties layer, and I searched for trim. Sorry, I'm going to unlock this because I haven't placed it. I'm going to place it over there. Perfect. And I'm going to move this behind building 1 and 2. Awesome. Very good. Now I have my rainbow, and now I can lock my layer. Okay? If I want the rainbow to be on, like, behind this, the cloud, I need to move it. I think it looks more like the example there. And I'm going to lock this. Finally, we're going to do the boat. Okay, now the boat, let me hide the yellow building and this one. So you can look entirely to the shape of the boat. So the first thing I'm going to do is to create the curvature of my rectangle. So I'm going to click here and release to select only one anchor point. And the second time, I'm going to drag it all the way to its top. Now I have this shape. Next, what I'm going to do, I'm going to place it there. And next, what I'm going to do is to use the rectangle tool, light blue, there. Wait. Let me get rid of this. Perfect. A rectangle in a light blue color. And then I'm going to create the pole, okay? I'll bring the boat to the front. Bring to front, and I'm going to create these two parts. For this, I'm going to click on my star tool, change the color to orange, and click once. I'm going to click so I can get the options from the star, and I'll put it in 3 because I want a triangle. I'm going to flip it, and I'm going to use the rectangle tool to put 1 on top of it because I want half of the triangle for this part. So I'm going to select them both, and I'm going to click in the second option, the minus front option. I'm going to drag that part of my boat, and I'm just going to simply resize this so it matches the size of the original one. Yes, somewhere there. Perfect. Then I'm going to press Alt and drag to get a copy from it and flip it. I'm going to resize this, and then I'm going to create the curves. For the first curve, I'm going to grab the curvature tool, click, and I'm going to drag to get it. For the second one, as you can see, I already have an anchor point. So I'm going to activate the direct selection tool with the letter A, that's the quick key. I'm going to click in here, and I'm going to drag the anchor point. I'm going to click in this option to convert that anchor point to a curve, and I'm going to simply move my handles to get that shape. Perfect. Now I've finished my boat, and with the transform tool, I'm going to select all my boat. I'm going to group it and rename that layer to boat. Perfect. Now I'm going to hide it. And as you can see, we have almost everything. We're just missing the flower. So if I hide the original and appear all my layers, now it makes sense, right? But the boat goes between the mid blue layer from the waves and the other one. So I'm going to move the boat between these two, there. And I'm going to send, let me unlock this. Very good. And I'm going to bring all these layers, well, the mid blue, the dark blue, the boat, and the light blue wave, I'm going to move them to the front of everything. They didn't move. Well, let's move them. I'm going to move them there. Perfect. And then I'll just bring the boat between the light blue. Very good. Now I have all my parts in its place. It's looking very good. And finally, I'm going to create the flower.